welcome into another episode of Why So Sidious, a nerd podcast. I am your host, David Cochran, and here with me tonight is my other host, Caleb Culver. We will be tackling this kind of on a wing. We've been having some technical difficulties here tonight. You will notice that our cold open involved a host who is no longer with us, RIP. Not in that way, but unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, JD will not be joining us here tonight, but he will be here with us in spirit. And if you want to hear his points, his little, his takeaway from the finale and everything, we might be doing a TikTok live, an IG live, something like that. But we're going to get his thoughts out there. It just was not in the cards tonight. He was our host. So Caleb and I are going to be pushing through and kind of wing this a little bit. But here we go. So tonight we will be covering the second half of Loki season 2. Briefly, episodes 4 and 5. We didn't cover it fully, so we want to give our thoughts on that, but mainly focusing on the finale. So before we get into that, follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and X at whysosidious pod. Hit us up with reviews, hit us up with requests, hit us up with some trash talk, whatever you want to do, find us on there. And tune into our recent episodes. We just dropped the comic episode with Yoo-Hoo Comic Review. We did our Halloween special recently, a little bit of Weekend Geeks back to back. And now we have our 99th episode here tonight, which, of course, is the penultimate episode to our 100th episode, which will be coming out soon. Tune in for the celebrations. All right. Tonight, we are here. Loki season 2, episode 4 and 5. We'll just briefly run through it before we get into the finale. Lub, you watched it most recently. What was your favorite parts of episode 4, takeaways? What would you think?
I love the start of the episode with the Ravonna reveal. Just how... She was the commander of the army, just like in the comic books, his right-hand woman. And he left her behind, which I could kind of see coming, because it's like how, obviously, what Miss Minute said is this is going to really piss her off. Right. And he did. He left her behind. He stayed at the end of time, and he erased the entire TVA's memories.
Crazy. Bold move.
Right?
I don't think we've seen the last of her either, because what's the saying? There's no rage like a scorned woman or something like that. I butchered it, but there's a phrase like that, and we see her at the end of the season, and she is not out of the game yet. So I think we're going to be seeing more of her coming soon. But crazy,
but that was a
background.
Leviathan was in front of her. The big fucking monster.
Alioth, the little guardian.
No, the monster that was in front of the end of time that was protecting it.
That's Alioth.
Oh, Alioth?
Yeah.
Okay.
The love, but I mean, she might run away. We don't know.
She could tame it.
Yeah, she'll be chill. She's fine. She's Ravonna. But crazy. Yeah, Ravonna had some wild stuff. Her interaction with the other TVA things where she's got them in the prison.
Yes.
And turns the machine on, and we get Doc saying, "I'm finally seeing the big picture," and says, what does it say to you if all of us here are willing to die instead of just help you out? And she squishes them with Miss Minute's psycho ass in the background, smiling and nodding as we hear the blood squelching and everything being pressed into a pulp. She's just smiling.
That was brutal. She offered them a life on the timeline if they helped, though. Not a bad deal. Yeah.
Well, homeboy took it. What was his name?
Brad.
Such a Brad name.
But I think the craziest part of this episode was the reveal about how Ouroboros and Victor Von Timely both based their work off each other's writings.
Yes.
Which is that was the first, because there's a couple scenes in this episode and then in the finale where it's scenes from the premiere, right? Because you get that in the end where we find out, I forgot if it's this episode or episode 5, where Loki did prune Loki.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So there's this whole kind of time loop mind fuckery going on, and just finding out that they both based their work off each other is crazy.
Yeah, bro, great writing to have the whole theme of season 2 be the Ouroboros, named after this character that we get seen in the first episode. And that's the whole theme of this, is the snake is eating its own tail. Is it the chicken or the egg? Which one comes first? Paradoxical things that are just constantly happening in different different areas, different ways throughout the season, and it's just been such a fun watch because of that, and seeing this puzzle fit all the pieces together eventually. Like, it's just been a blast. Yeah, you know, Loki saying, "I promise you this will all make sense," which kind of felt like it was directed at the viewers rather than Sylvie, because I was like, what the hell is going on right now? And Tom Hiddleston, "I promise you this will all make sense." Yeah, no, that was a really, really solid episode. Some funny bits.
And I also really loved the funny bits. I loved when Timely gets captured by Ravonna and Miss Minutes, and he says, "Thank God you're both okay." It's like, so funny.
Kick and a butte, or kick save and a butte. Well, that, and then Miss Minutes starts glitching, and Victor looks at her and goes, "Mocking is unnecessary." He thinks she's mocking him because she's glitching. I thought that was hilarious when he said, "Mocking is unnecessary."
Oh my God, he's such a good actor.
Oh, he killed it. He just every episode, but yeah, episode 4 was fun with them.
But let Sylvie cook. So I know he didn't really love her in the first couple episodes, but when she's like kind of explaining why, you know, because they said Victor and Ouroboros are trying to fix the multiplier, and then, you know, Loki, or not Mobius, I'm sorry, Ouroboros and Victor are fixing the multiplier, and then Mobius, Loki, and Sylvie are gonna go get some pie. And she's like, "What's going on here? Like, what are we doing?" And she goes up to Mobius and is like, "You know, you found out you're a variant and you didn't even look. Like, what's your plan with Timely when they're done too? Like, are you just gonna go send them back to the 1800s and okay, he's gonna have totally live a normal life now after seeing all this shit?"
Yeah.
And they are playing God. Like, they're trying to play God. And I love how Loki just says, "I am a god." You know, like,
I was waiting for that line after she said that. I was like, he's about to say, I thought he was going to say, "We are gods." But yeah, I felt bad for Mobius. She was totally right. She's 100% right. But she's like, "It's just another bad day at the office for you, isn't it? Like, these are lives. Billions of lives are dying, trillions of lives, and you're eating pie." But I still felt bad. I was like, "Hey, take it easy on Mobius, all right? My boy's been through a lot. He's just, leave him alone."
Right. And Renslayer gets pruned. I guess we kind of talked about that, but she got pruned. And then when Miss Minutes, right before she like fully goes down, she says, "There's one last thing I need to say to you. You'll never be him."
Oh yeah.
Like God damn, girl.
Bro,
and then
insane.
Victor walks out to try and fix it, and it immediately turns into shreds. That was a crazy ending.
I mean, my jaw dropped for a second, and I just had to laugh. Like, what? Yeah, wild ending. Everybody just sees that they're screwed, and everything explodes, and Loki's left yet again, staring off into a bright, exploding light that's coming towards him. Like when he watched Asgard explode, and pretty sure it's happened a couple other times too. But yeah, Loki witnesses tragedy. It was a crazy episode. It was good. You want to get in episode 5?
Yeah.
So yeah, Loki's got to go track everybody down. Essentially, everybody's sent back to their own timelines, to a random timeline. I don't know. Like, was Casey's original character one of the Alcatraz escapees, and then he came to work for the TVA?
I think that's what they said. Like, maybe he wasn't supposed to survive leaving Alcatraz or something, and that was like he made him a variant or something. I don't know, and at first I was like, how is Loki showing up to like all the side characters and all these, like, you know, right next to all these side characters? But then obviously Ouroboros explains it. It's like this aura that he's trying to, you know, they explained it well, is what I'm saying. But at first it's like, how is he right next to everyone?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It felt way too convenient for all that to roll out that way. But yeah, he just collects the gang, and
Mobius finally on a jet ski, though. That was like the first scene we saw him in, was hilarious. But he's just a salesman.
I know. I wish he was actually on it, like riding it around on the lake, and then we zoom out and it's the freaking poster behind him. But that was pretty funny. I guess we kind of had to see that coming.
He's a hardcore salesman too. He's trying to sell it to B-15 later in the when they're talking, like, bro, like, what are we doing?
He's married to the sales game, man. That was hilarious. What else happens in that episode?
So Obi's house looks a lot like his workshop. Like the shape of the roof has like the multi curved or
Remind me, where was
like a
he?
hexagon shape. It looks like a hangar, like a plane hangar, where they
Okay.
were all when Loki meets Sylvie in the finale too. They're in that same room. You know where the strings are all coming out. It's that the room where they all got together.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of looks like the same shape as his workshop in the TVA, which is interesting.
Huh, okay. Yeah, I remember that episode the least out of the last three for some reason. I know. Oh, so my favorite part from this scene was pretty much. I don't remember if it was an actual bar. I think it was. I think they're at a bar. It was Loki and Sylvie.
Yes,
and they're talking,
yes.
and she's like, basically, it was a therapy session for him. But man, the emotion from Tom Hiddleston in this scene where he's finally admitting that he just wants, his main motivation is to get his friends back so he's not alone. Like, he just doesn't want to be alone. And the emotion conveyed there is just really good scene. It was touching. It made you feel for Loki, one of the most complex characters, like, in the MCU. Like, he has such an intricate
He is. I
journey.
think he is.
Yeah, he has to be, right?
I don't think you could put anyone above him. No.
He's gone through so many different stages and so many different tragedies and back and forth through time. And it's just, they've just built a hell of a story behind him. And so seeing that emotional admittance almost, it was a really cool little piece.
I mean, I'd probably put Bucky at number 2, and that's like that's not even close to Loki. Like who else has kind of been like a Jamie Lannister type character in MCU?
I mean, Tony was close. He was a major asshole
Yeah,
when he first started off.
Okay,
And
then selfless at the end.
Yeah, exactly. He put his life on the line. Thor went through some character developments. He went through some journey. He's still going through a journey. But yeah, I still think Loki trumps. Out of all of those, I still think Loki's journey is by far the most complex and just up and down. It's just been great. It's been a great character to follow on screen. I did get a little nervous when he learned to control the time slipping. So we find out at the end of the episode that he can control it. He's learning to go back and forth. Safe. Go back and forth to times that he's specifically aiming to go to. And it was cool at first, and then I'll admit I was worried. Because I'm like, this could be lazy. This could be just a plot hole fixer for anything. Like, he can just travel anywhere and change the future. Like, getting a little concerned. As we see, that's not going to be a problem going forward. But yeah, I did get a little worried.
Yeah, but this show is just too creative and too well thought out to do that. When when the story's finished, you know that for sure.
Yeah. They also, Casey being the guy from Alcatraz, they now have 2 U.S. mysteries coming out of just Loki. He was D.B. Cooper in season 1, and now he's the reason the Alcatraz escapees got away. So I like little bits like that too. Anything else on that episode? I don't have much. Like I said, I don't remember much of it, but
just another funny line before we move on. When Loki talks to Ouroboros and he gives him the handbook to build the machine, and then he goes off to Mobius, and then all of a sudden, Obi shows up and he's like, "Wow, that was quick," and he's like, I wouldn't call 18 months quick. Well, 19. My wife left me after I lost my job. Dude. So he's just like so candid and serious about it.
Love it. Dude, there were some great scenes like that too. Like, it wasn't typical MCU humor in this season. Like, it was clever stuff like that. And
yes, exactly. That's what you need to do. It was
nice. Yeah, it was a nice change of pace for that. All right, let's jump into the finale there. Brief summary. We don't have anything planned out here, but we're just going to tag team this. So yeah, we left off with the opening scene. Loki's repeating everything, trying to get them quicker, trying to make it quicker, realizes that's not going to work to be able to get timely across the bridge in time without disintegrating. Where does he go next after that? He starts trying a few different spots in time.
So he goes back. He basically walks up to Obi and says, what do we need to do different? And that's when he goes back and he needs more time, right? So then he starts to do that over and over again, and then he says, "How long would it take you to learn all this?" So and then it says centuries later, and then basically that's when Victor does get the job done, but then you find out that infinite timelines, it's still not going to matter. It's expanding at too great of a rate,
right?
And it explodes. So then he goes back and meets up with He Who Remains, I'm pretty sure, and talks with him. They have we'll get into that, and then I think he goes to Sylvie after that and tells her basically, "Hey, I have to, kill you," or I might be getting it mixed up now, but
no, He Who Remains and Sylvie was the same deal, and then he goes back to another part of Sylvie or the future Sylvie and goes, "Hey,
right,
this
exactly,
is the deal."
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, and then she just pulls a classic Loki, like, "I'm not giving you my blessing," like,
yeah, that was pretty funny.
And then he goes back to season 1 in the beginning, talks to Mobius, and that was another great scene.
Oh, amazing!
And then basically talking to Mobius makes him kind of figure out what he needs to do, the god he needs to be. So he goes back to the end of last episode.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Or the end of the 4th episode.
End
of the 4th episode.
Yeah. Shit. I don't
know. And he goes out there, destroys the temporal loom, and the horns come out. Classic Loki.
Sick.
Takes all the timelines, a lot of them, goes up to his throne, Asgard gold. It's going to be that color.
Mm-hmm.
And then sits down on that Bowflex, puts all those timelines together.
Did kind of look like that. Yeah. He's getting some peck flies in there, man. He was getting yoked. Yeah.
And becomes, basically he who remains.
Yeah.
But
Loki,
but a multiverse, and
the god
Loki.
of the multiverse, yeah,
and the tree of
stories, yeah. And then we get the TVA. So we get the new TVA after that, which their new purpose in life is not to prune timelines; it is to track down Kang variants, which is dope. Like, that's a super cool twist to it. We get the nod from Mobius.
So that's their main. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's their MO now, is to track down the Kangs. And yeah, Mobius is like, well, we had word of one in the 616, boom bang, but they ended up taking care of him, which we'll get to that. That's obviously a nod to something else we've already seen.
Well, that's Quantumania, right?
Right. Yeah. But so that was a cool little.
They didn't take care of Kang technically. He's still there. He's still there, and I'm surprised they know about the quantum realm, though. That's crazy, their extent of knowledge.
Yeah, they're all over it, but yeah, so, well, we'll get into that. We're just summarizing it, I guess, and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much how it wrapped up, right? What was the end scene? I don't recall. There was no post-credit.
Right.
That might have been the end.
And then, it shows Loki one more time on the throne, like, maybe, like, right when the credits start, it shows him.
Okay,
he's like
his face,
he's like in his little smile
shot. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, yeah. No, Sylvie and Mobius. Sylvie and Mobius. Mobius goes back and watches, and there's like he can't go. It sucks though because he can't go back and be with his kids because there's a version of he has to go. I thought he was gonna go like
kill him,
prune him real quick and take over.
This is my family now, buddy. You're going to a better place.
With Ravonna. But
hey, what are these guys' names again? Okay. Yeah, that's right. So we got that touching little scene with Owen Wilson's Mobius. Bro, pretty solid finale for me. I mean, I don't know what you thought about it, but I thought it was pretty great.
Yes, it's close with episode 4 for me. And I also really liked episode 3. So, but it's a great season overall.
I might be with you with episode 4, but I got to rewatch it. So I'm looking forward to going through the rewatch of this season. All right, my first gripe though, right off the bat, right at the start of this episode, Loki tried that faster thing way too many times. where he just kept going back like a minute and kept trying to just make Victor run faster. It's like, bro, you guys didn't miss it by 3 seconds. He's getting evaporated instantly. You've missed it by hours. You're not going to make him run faster and overcome this. I don't know why they kept trying that.
It was so funny though, bro. And then when he goes back and he's like, I don't like your surprisingly advanced engineering skills. Like, I don't trust any of this. Oh my god.
Oh,
and he's and he's going through all the things that could happen. He's like, strap your helmet to a wrist, legs. Like there's the third step. You could trip over that. If you drop it, it's gonna roll off.
Do not set the multiplier down. It will roll off the ramp. Like, it was just hilarious by not only his mannerisms, but his phrasing and stuff, where you could tell, okay, he's done this hundreds of times already. Like, he's gone through so many different variations. And watching Mobius and, Sylvie in the back watching him hella confused. The whole scene was great. It was very entertaining. Tom Hiddleston did a great job. That was just a really fun scene. I was like, why is he doing this? This isn't going to fix it. But dude went back and lived centuries to learn all of that. Like,
I couldn't do it. That's for sure.
I mean, again, as we talked about in the group chat, he is thousands of years old, so it's a little bit less to him, but still, my man went back and just studied for over 100 years to learn that. He really stepped up the Tony Stark deal. They're like, when did you become a expert in quantum physics? He's like, last night. Oh, what? Didn't you read the file? I think that was like the original Avengers film or something like that. But
right.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Tom Hiddleston killed it. That Victor scene crossing the bridge was the most stressful thing ever. We're just deteriorating, going so slow. Like, oh god, it was stressing me out.
But he's just a man, in the end.
Man.
And he was good. Like, I was waiting for some type of villain turn or some type of devious behaviors, but he was like sorry in the end that things didn't work out and upset, and like, he's always said, time to be brave. Time to be brave. Gotta be brave. He's so funny.
I love him. I just love him. His whole attitude and exactly like you just said right there. And his tone of voice. And yeah, I was waiting for that villain turn, and it just turned out that he was one of the nicest, most respectable, kind of honorable
genuine
dudes in the MCU. I think he might be, well, maybe not worthy of Mjolnir. He was a con artist, I guess, but he had good intentions. He was a con artist with good intentions. So I just loved Victor Timely. R.I.P. It seems like we will not be getting any more of him.
Because, and also when he finally figures out that, infinite universe can't exist, like it's fate that they are doomed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking like, okay, this is where He Who Remains is kind of created, because that was where in Victor's time he was like, only one timeline can really exist, or so I was thinking it was going to kind of go that way in that moment where, okay, he's going to be like, we need to fix this shit my way.
Yeah, I can see that now. I didn't even think of that while watching, but oh my god, yeah, I could have totally seen that as the villain turn.
And when he says, what's the problem? And he starts laughing and he turns and he says, it's a scaling problem. But for a second there, it's like, what are you doing there? Laughing at him for asking.
Well, by the way, his voice is one of the funnest to just impersonate. I don't know why, but he's just a fun character.
Time.
Dude, I'm glad it went right to it, but there was a break for me. I had to pause it and go do something, but it was the scene where Sylvie goes, it's almost if as soon as the timeline started branching, this was doomed to happen. And I paused it and I go do something. I'm like, yeah, Sylvie, it's almost like you caused all of this. And then I came back and pressed play, and he literally goes back to where she caused all of this. Like, this is all on you.
Right. So when he first shows up back at the end of season 1, and it seemed like he should have kept talking to her before, like, putting his hands on her, when he like because she was tearing up a little bit. She was like, this is she always can tell when Loki's like time slipping around. If you look in the background, she always kind of gives him a look like, what was that? Like, something's, because she's a Loki, like they're the same person in a different universe. Obviously she would know before Mobius or Casey. So I
Yeah.
like that aspect.
No, and I agree. And that happens a lot in movies where you like Batman versus Superman, where it's just like, just talk to him. Hold on, stop fighting and just speak for a minute, and you'll both be able to figure this out without having to kill someone. And yeah, I was thinking that over and over with the Loki and Sylvie thing. This kind of got a little too much for me. The repeat over and over and over again, because this one wasn't funny like the first part where had the humor with Victor Timely, but it just wasn't very creative. It just was kind of 6 or 7 times in a row of Loki not very strongly trying to stop her and her stabbing him. So after the 4th or 5th time, I was like, okay, let's go. What's the next? Like, I'm good. I get it. Let's get to the next part of the scene.
But then when Loki says, why do you always sit here? Are you going to do something to stop her?
Yeah.
And he pauses and he's like, so how many times have you really been at this? And I was like, damn. And you find out that you think Thanos is inevitable, but he who remains is really inevitable because he had multiple contingency plans. And one of them is, you think I'd let Sylvie kill me? Like, come on, man. Like, I'm not going to go out like that, which is crazy to think that all of it was a ruse.
The whole time. And people were saying that, when he says see you soon to Sylvie at the end, people were theorizing he was actually talking to Loki, like, see you soon, because this is about to, like, pretty soon we're finally going to have this conversation. Because he doesn't see Sylvie again. He sees Loki again, though, after he says that. And he knew he was time slipping. So it's like, oh, so I wonder if there's parts in season 1 in that finale you can watch and pick up on little things where he knows that Loki is kind of, time or about to be time slipping or whatever the case is. But it was interesting. There's little details like that, but that point in the episode.
Oh, one more.
Yeah.
On the see you soon thing, because in the finale you think see you soon means other versions of him. You don't even think he who remains at all, and that is the super cool. Even if he's not talking to Loki, he's just saying it.
Oh yeah, it was still intimidating the first time it came off in there. Like, yeah. But that scene you just mentioned right there, for me, that is when this episode really turned it on. I thought is when he paused Sylvie. It was like, oh, like from there on out, the rest of the episode, I freaking loved. We get more brilliant acting from Majors. So we obviously, we had his little dance between, or not his, a little dance between He Who Remains and Loki. Which one knows more than the other? Which one is feigning ignorance? It was just a little game that they were playing, and Tom Hiddleston and Majors played off each other brilliantly. It was just such a fun scene to watch. And one of my favorite parts of that is when He Who Remains realizes Loki can pause time too. And he kind of realizes, oh, maybe he is a little bit more capable than he was giving him credit for. You kind of see him waver just a little bit when Loki pulls that. You can see the confidence just a tiny bit drain from him. And then Jonathan Majors turns from the eccentric and sporadic acting He Who Remains, and he kind of takes a turn towards the King the Conqueror from Quantumania. He doesn't go all the way, but his acting, it felt like a combination of those two characters. He still had a little light bubbliness going, but he was serious too, and he was like, I thought it was brilliant by Jonathan Majors. He managed to combine the two characters, but kind of make his own new side of He Who Remains that we hadn't seen yet. And it was just fantastic the way he played it on screen. So that whole exchange between Loki and He Who Remains is just awesome.
And when he sits back, licks his finger, and like marks the tally for Loki, like that was so funny. Oh my god! Like okay, that was good.
The charisma that man has is off the charts.
And in that moment, I was like, I mean, you gotta just kill Sylvie, right? Like you gotta just keep Hugh. I mean, it's the easier path.
It's her fault. This is on her, and she's pretty. No offense, but she's pretty broken, bro. I don't know if there's any coming back for her at this point. Like, she is hell-bent on killing.
I think now there is.
Now, maybe, but yeah, I guess so. But at that point, it's just like, just kill her.
Right.
It's her fault. I know he's not going to. I know he's in love with her. And he's not the villain anymore. He's taken the higher road. I get it, but I did want it.
She killed He Who Remains, got a new life, and then what did she do? She went and worked at McDonald's. Like, no.
Look, no
shame.
offense, but
if you're gonna
the
kill,
Prince of Asgard,
if you're gonna kill the person who runs all of time, please go, like, go do your dream job after that. Okay, do whatever you wanted
some
to do.
humanitarian work, make the world a better place, do something, or just be,
And don't be miserable like Sylvie still.
yeah,
Like,
she wasn't happy.
right? Like, she was still miserable.
Just sacrificed everything to be a miserable minimum wage worker. Why would you want to do that out of all your, again, look, yeah, there's no offense. Times are tough, but in Sylvie's position, doesn't really make a lot of sense. And she doesn't even have a social security number, but whatever. So real quick with Loki time traveling, the rules are obviously different than the Endgame time traveling through the quantum realm, because we got that line from Hulk saying, this isn't like Back to the Future. You can't travel to the past and change the future. That's not how this works. But that's literally what Loki was doing in this. But I'm assuming it's just because he was breaking the laws of time and he's going back into his previous body kind of deal. But,
he was. Yep, he was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was slipping into his old body. So I'm assuming but yeah, that's all I could think of was like, he said this was not how it worked.
And I'm pretty sure he was going to different timelines for when he went to, in episode 5, when he went to every different character, because it would say like the year, and it would say branch timeline. Like,
episode
there's a lot
5,
of shit going on, So he wasn't traveling in the same universe. He was doing different universes. And then in the TVA, which was weird though, because before he learned how to control it, he was going around from the universes. Then he went to the TVA for a second, and it showed like the theater room 25 from like the first episode of season 1.
Oh,
and then he jumped really fast to back to a different universe. So that was kind of weird, because the TVA was destroyed at that point, which just makes him like all powerful basically.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Maybe his subconscious, he couldn't control it, but his subconscious knew where he needed to go, but right. I don't know why he went back to the TVA there.
I think one of my biggest questions from this episode is, so they're talking about this, the war that comes if He Who Remains is not there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if He Who Remains dies, the temporal loom gets destroyed, and all the timelines get destroyed, besides the sacred timeline, right? So what's the war that comes if all the timelines are immediately destroyed besides the sacred timeline again?
See, I don't understand that either. I don't, if the loom is destroyed, it's that, they made it seem all the realities were turning into spaghetti. So yeah, I don't know where the war would have came from either. But I don't know. Well, Kang said he turned it into He Who Remains said he turned it into a failsafe. So maybe at that point, it was either you keep the sacred timeline intact now, or everything is destroyed. But I don't know. I don't know how that one plays out.
It was confusing.
Again, the first thing I said when this thing ended that I sent to you guys, I said, that was crazy. But I have so many questions coming out of that finale. Like, I'll ask some of them, throughout too. But
because
that's one of them.
Honestly, what Loki's doing right now and what the TVA are trying to do is your number one chance for a multiversal Kang War, which is obviously coming. We know it's coming in Kang Dynasty Secret Wars. So, maybe, one timeline is the best option, because it's coming. He's coming back.
Sylvie ruined everything. Let's just be real here.
It's Star-Lord first, Sylvie second.
What else did we... Oh, we learned more about Ravonna and Mobius a little bit when Loki went back to Mobius. We found out that they were partners, and Ravonna was just so savage that Mobius couldn't take it anymore and took his desk job. And that's that history between him and Ravonna there and whatnot. So that was cool.
And because they didn't prune the kid on time, variants started popping up out of nowhere, and multiple hunters died. Like if you don't get it taken care of right away, and was he going to kill 5,000 people at the age of 8, or was he going to do it as an adult? Because can you just maybe wait until
let him live a little
days before he's about to do that, and then you don't feel as bad. You're killing like a 20-year-old person. Right? Couldn't you do that? Or is he just going to go on like an 8-year-old rampage?
I don't know, because part of me goes, they probably wasn't the case. It's probably just propaganda and they're lying to keep it in control. But now that we see, well, He Who Remains was protecting some stuff, so maybe those rules actually were legit and they had to do that. I don't know, bro. It's pretty cold regardless.
Maybe they killed Victor Von Timely.
Victor Von Timely strikes again.
No,
Dr. Doom's cousin.
That's the 8-year-old. No, it was by the Black Sea. Where was he? Oh, he was in Chicago.
What do you mean, Victor Timely?
Yeah, never mind. Never mind.
Yeah,
I was trying to think.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like because who's going to kill 5,000? How do you kill 5,000 people unless you're a superhero? You can't, you or me couldn't go out there and kill 5,000 people. That's unless you did some crazy terrorist attack, but most likely in the Marvel world, it's going to be a supervillain. Right?
I didn't think about that being an Easter egg for a possible villain or something that was
by the Black Sea. That could be some
rock stars. See if they got something
I'm sure
on
he
that
said
one.
something about it.
That's a good point. I did not think about that. Oh, what else? So Loki accepts the kind of god he has to be and goes and walks out into that walkway after he had that conversation with Sylvie. You already kind of said it. I mean, she said, I'm not going to give you my blessing. She turns into spaghetti. He dips. And he knows what he has to do. Did you know what he was going to do when he walked out onto that walkway? Did you know what was coming there?
No, not totally. I felt like he was going to maybe... Yeah, it's hard to tell now, retrospectively, afterwards, but yeah, it was hard to tell because honestly, a lot of stuff was going on. It's jumping back and forth. It's confusing, but it all wrapped up perfectly at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know what the hell was going to happen when he was walking out there. I mean, you had me, but when he started transforming and those clothes started getting ripped off and the new... it had the style of classic Loki with the massive horns coming out. That was classic comic book Loki. Classic Loki we saw in season 1, but it was obviously different. Some eagle-eyed viewers out there said that the material that his crown was made of was the same as the castle that He Who Remains was in, that was built out of.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I didn't fact check it or anything, but that'd be a kind of cool aspect.
Because you can see the window of the He Who Remains' castle disintegrating right as Loki's about to sit on the throne.
Oh,
so
that's a trip.
Yeah, so his throne is right where He Who Remains' end of time.
That's right.
Is that it's right in the same spot.
Yeah. Oh, that's dope.
So yeah, it probably was.
Yeah. Straight up reconfigured it into his crown, and that's
and
sick.
The throne and the steps and all that stuff is what. Yeah,
dude, he looked dope. He looked like that was a cool shot walking out onto there.
I will say my first thought is, Tom Hiddleston from Avengers 1 in the Horns to now. He's aged a little bit.
Yes,
it's been 10 years, but he looks a lot different than he did in Avengers.
To be fair, he had a very bright white light shining on his face, but it did show the wrinkles, the divots, the aging. My man Tom is, he's probably late 40s or something by now.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
So I had the same thought though. I was like, oh, our boy's he's aging a little bit. He's 42. But it felt like a comic book event. Loki walking out onto the platform, literally grabbing the ropes of the timeline, harnessing them, creating his own throne and sitting down like that with the dramatic horns. Literally, it felt like a comic book event. That didn't feel like something that happens on screen. It really it had a great feel to it. I loved it. It was very ominous but kind of heroic at the same time.
And the score.
Yes,
the score in the scene,
incredible.
The finale, the entire show.
Yeah. Do we know who composed? I think no. I think Natalie Holt. Yeah, that's because I keep seeing her name when I click on the theme song.
Did she do the first season?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, she did Kenobi too, which I thought Kenobi had some not great soundtrack. But anyways, this one was good. The score was good. We won't get
Another
into that.
pod, another day. Check out our first episode.
Yeah, dude. But I had to wonder. So these timelines are dying when he explodes the loom, and then he puts life back into it. But what's happening, like, to our heroes who are on these timelines when this timeline is crumbling? Did they all experience the spaghetti thing before getting put back into whole? Like, did they just go through the blip again, but a different form of, like, deterioration? Instead of dust, there were spaghetti noodles? Because they all died for a second, and then he lit them all up again.
I imagine, like, your average everyday person is kind of reset back, but maybe someone like Doctor Strange,
or Spider-Man with the ultra senses or something.
Yeah, I don't know about Spider-Man. Tom Holland's kind of dumb. Peter.
Hey, bro.
But I think Doctor Strange would be, the one that you could complain about him not saying anything about it in Doctor Strange 3.
Maybe it might be a throwaway line coming up here, like, well, we had that,
spaghetti incident.
The spaghetti incident of 2025. But I feel like they'll probably mention it, like we had disturbances or something in the multiverse during this, and like the throwaway line that Mobius says, where he says they ran into a Kang variant in the 616. What was the line? The 616 adjacent. The 616 adjacent universe, but they handled it. So it was a throwaway line of another movie. So we'll probably get that again for this event too.
So that you reminded me. How do you think the Council of Kings tie into this? So that's another thing I have a question about, because they're watching over all the Kang variants, but all the Kang variants just got together and fucking had a giant meeting, fucking barking and shit. So, I mean, like, they're watching over the Kang variants, but they're all getting together, and there's a council of them running every variant in the multiverse, which is being run by Loki right now. So this is a part where I'm confused on the MCU timeline as a whole and where we are on it compared.
Yeah.
Well, this is obviously, the TVA isn't a part of time, but it's after Quantumania. But the post-credit scene of Quantumania, after Kang is defeated, it shows the Council of Kang. So maybe the post-credit scene takes place after Loki season 2, and
that would work.
And since the multiverse has been set up, all the Kangs are allowed to get together now.
Yes, they're unlocked. I think that could mean when the Ramatut, Centurion, and Kang Prime are Imperius. I don't remember all their freaking names, but 2 of the 3 is right. They never said the name, but they say he is dead. And now they start planning and doing all this. Maybe they weren't talking about Kang the Conqueror. Maybe they were talking about He Who Remains. And now He Who Remains is dead, and now they're able to meet up, and finally they're broken free from the little prisons they were in, because He Who Remains is dead now. The timelines have been unbound, and they're free to move about. Maybe they weren't talking about Kang the Conqueror that whole time, because they never said his name, right? They just said he's dead, and he said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes, I invited everybody." So yeah, maybe that took place after Loki season 2, and they were talking about He Who Remains. Stamp it.
Heard it here first.
That could be. That's crazy. I didn't even think about that. So yeah, I don't know how the TVA plays into that, how much they're tracking them, or if they're just waiting for appearances and then tracking it down. But once
you see the Victor at 8 years old, and he looks over at the window, and there's obviously no book gets dropped in, so it's just Victor on his normal timeline now.
Oh yeah, I totally overlooked that.
Yeah, so
I was waiting for the book to come in, and it never did, and I didn't think anything of that.
So he's gonna live a normal life now, which is good for Victor. He's gonna grow up, and he won't. He's still a smart man.
Yeah,
but he's not gonna. He won't be able to invent this temporal loom in the 1800s.
Right. He'll have a very, very different life now. But dude, with the TVA going forward now, I kind of, we heard they're going to be in Deadpool 3 a little bit. They're going to have a role here. I think they're going to be a major part of the MCU going forward. After seeing this, after
They have to
seeing
come
Loki
back.
create this tree of the multiverse, and the TVA are the ones who, I think they're going to be an integral part of Kang Dynasty now. And I didn't before this, but I think they're going to be like the shield of the movie in Kang Dynasty. The TVA are going to be that government system that is helping our heroes take down this enemy. I think, the TVA is going to be big, and I really didn't think they were going to be after this. I thought throwaway in Deadpool 3 for those scenes where they time travel, but yeah,
right, because they said there's no Loki season 3 basically. This, and obviously I don't know why there would be, but to have even to get like a TVA, I would watch a TVA series, but obviously if not a series, or because that's kind of hard to get people to watch. It's Owen Wilson, and that's
it could
about
be
it.
creative though, bro. You could be jumping
Kang's,
into all types
Jonathan
of heroes,
Majors.
and yeah, you could still make that entertaining, but
definitely King Dynasty.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's no Shield is going to do shit. Samuel Jackson ain't going to be traveling the multiverse.
No. And they're all keeping tabs on the Kangs now. So we're going to have to revisit the TVA, see where they are during this Kang Dynasty takeover. Like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun, man. So back to Loki on the bridge there real quick. He reaches out and destroyed that loom, and it totally mirrored season 1 classic Loki, who's taken down Goliath, or he forms the fake Asgard, and it's like the same shot where he's raising his hands up. He's got the massive horns, except our classic Loki yells glorious purpose out, which parallels because our Loki now has found his glorious purpose as he is doing this. He's finally found that glorious purpose. So that was a cool parallel.
And that was the name of the first episode of the first season.
Yep. It all came back.
Poetry.
And so that tree he creates, I don't know how he knew how to inject life into timelines. I don't know how he knew how to do all that, but we do know he's traveled back into time and learned all this stuff, and he's a sorcerer, and he's, Loki, god of mischief. So whatever, he figured out how to do it. He became the guy who's running it all. But the tree that forms is this massive green tree, and it's actually the tree of life from Norse mythology. It's also known as the world tree. It's called Yggdrasil. But yeah, so he formed that, so that kind of ties back into his roots there, his Asgardian roots, the Norse roots, and his line right before he sacrificed himself. All this, there's a lot of tie-ins, a lot of poetic stuff that wrapped up in this.
The tree of Numenor.
Yeah, that too. There you go. I thought of that, and what's the tree? And yeah, that's the one you're talking about. I forget what the actual name of it is.
The white tree or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, at the end of Thor 1, Loki is hanging off the bridge, and he's yelling to his dad, and he says, what did he say? He says, "I could have saved them. I could have done it for us, for you, for all of us." And it's the exact words he said. I just totally butchered the line. I wrote it down so I didn't butcher it. Yeah, he goes, "I could have done it, Father, for you, for all of us." And Odin's ashamed. But that's the exact line. He turns to Sylvie and he says, "I can do this for you, for all of us." And then he turns around and he does save the day. He creates the tree. He bounds all of it. So it was word for word that thing he said to Odin while he was still that immature villain Loki. Like, it was just another tied end to this journey of Loki. That just like, and for that reason, I don't know how JD feels about this. I feel like he's going to disagree. We'll have to talk about it. Honestly, I think this is a great ending for Loki's story, if it's the end, because there were so many poetic tie-ins. There were so many things that were just perfectly came full circle that wrapped up his story. He finally got that throne that he wanted as a younger kid, but he always wanted it for the wrong reasons. And now he has it for the right reason.
Right.
And it's so cool to see, but I can't help but feel incredibly sad at the same time. Because he just admitted that he just wants his friends back because he doesn't want to be alone. More than anything, he does not want to be alone.
That's so sad.
And he's going to be alone for the rest of his life now, guarding the multiverse, being the god of the multiverse in the center of time.
Well, his life,
not alone,
and the rest of eternity.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he'll always be alone, and that's the one thing he was afraid of. And it's just like that right there. Him doing that, making that sacrifice for his friends to live, for everybody else to live, like, that's a hero. If you ask me, that makes him worthy of Mjolnir. I think he's
Oh,
worthy
yeah.
at this point, bro. Like, just
Oh,
incredible.
easy.
Just God. It was emotional.
Yeah. It was moving.
Yeah.
Just the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate selfless move.
Yeah.
And speaking of eternity, I mean, when it comes to Loki's story being finished,
Mhm.
I would be basically fine either way. Because eternity was in Thor 4. So, Thor has kind of seen, I feel like eternity and Loki now are basically, on the same level, right?
Mhm.
When it comes to gods and the
Feels like
realm.
it. Yeah.
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 So if there's a Thor, if they're really going to do Thor 5, and if he somehow, I don't know how the hell he'd even get there, but
He could.
a scene with Loki. I mean, or Loki somehow helps out in Avengers.
I got it. Thor is gonna go out. He's gonna die doing some heroic thing, and Loki is gonna come to him, being the god of time, essentially, and he's gonna say, "I told you the sun would shine on us once more, brother." And he's gonna lift him into the light. And Thor is gonna smile, and they're gonna
Lift
ride
him
off
into
into the
the light.
Asgardian sunset. It's just Loki has become top 3 favorite character in the MCU. I mean,
Whoa!
he's up there, man. It's just been such an incredible ride watching this guy. Yeah, I love how he just took He Remains' place now, but instead of at the end of the time, he's in the center of time. Like it's cool. Let's see what else. Oh, somebody else also pointed out the tree looks like a wormhole, which could be an interesting kind of deal. Now that all the timelines are bundled, they're literally bundled, strengthening each other, forming this tree. Makes sense that maybe people would be able to travel universe to universe. Some people with certain abilities easier use these wormhole
Like
paths
Kangs.
into different universe. Kangs, or hopefully some of our heroes as well, and everything too. But I think
Deadpool.
that's going to set up multiversal.
I think
clashes.
this is really gonna set up Loki a lot. I mean, this is gonna set up Deadpool.
Oh, yeah,
Deadpool
yeah.
3.
Oh, for sure. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
With the TV, not just the TVA, but jumping multiverses easily, like Deadpool is gonna be doing.
Straight up. It's going to be fun to watch. All right. Last thing I wanted to bring up on the paradoxical topic. Have to wonder if the color of the time stone has a paradoxical connection to the new god of time, his color being green. Like, I have to wonder if there's some chicken or the egg kind of correlation there with that green color in the time stone.
Damn.
Could be, or it could not be, and there's
Is
just
it
a
green in
limited
the
amount of
comics?
colors. What, the times? No, actually, I forget. All the stones are different colors in the comics. So the time stone.
Bow down to Feige.
It was
Please
orange
leave
and
after
blue
Secret Wars
in
and
the
take over
comics,
Star
changing over time.
Wars. Let's go.
Feige's got this. He had the plan all along. He knew it was going to connect to Loki in the end. That'd be crazy if he knew that. All right. Overall thoughts on the finale? Anything? Final thoughts? I got a few. What do you got?
I just gotta say that this is Marvel at its peak, and why we should still have faith in them. Like, they still got it. They can still be creative. They can still make things we have never seen before. And both seasons of this show have been top tier. Like, it's such a well-crafted story. And finding out Obi and Kang were a yin and yang was mind-blowing. Major's just in his bag again every movie or show he's been in. Amazing. And then and just an amazing cast all around. Sylvie, Owen Wilson, the addition of Obi. Casey's always funny with his comedic relief. And of course, Tom Hiddleston. So I think this is, I don't know, Loki season 1 is my number 1 rated Marvel show.
Okay.
I think it's hard to tell because I think I have to rewatch season 1 before I rank season 2 for season 1.
Same. Yeah. I'm going to have to go back. I didn't even think of a rating for this season. Shoot, did you? You did? Okay. Might as well throw it out.
I think my rating for season 2 would be, because since we've been I'm gonna keep teasing this for you. Since we've been, at this podcast for so long now, I have to go to my ratings of things we've covered before, and I have to think, okay, did I like this more than Andor? And I think, yeah, I did like this. I like this more than Andor.
Wow.
But did I like this more than Ahsoka? And I don't think I did, because Ahsoka is peak Star Wars, and Star Wars is always in my heart. So I have this in between the two at an 8.6.
Wow. 8.6.
What?
No,
Don't wow me.
I'm surprised. I'm just legitimately surprised. So is Ahsoka rated higher than Andor then for you? I know
It's close.
I'm the weird
And
one.
Ahsoka's an 8.7.
Okay. And
Andor's an 8.5. So it's
so it's pretty close.
I'm getting little tight here.
I know it's hard. Well, we're just gonna have to have some repeat ratings after the list we're building here. Okay, I had Ahsoka at an 8.5, but I had Andor, I think, in the 9s. But Ahsoka's my favorite Star Wars series. Make it make sense. I don't care. Those are my feelings, and that's the rating. Just deal with it. Yeah, I had a 9.2 for Andor. But Ahsoka's still my favorite. Loki, I'm not sure. So real quick, the just overall thoughts. I loved the feel that finale had. It definitely was not the finale I expected, but I honestly didn't know what to expect. Like we said on Galactic Core podcast with Andy, I said, I don't even know if I can get upset about how this ends, because I have no idea how it's going to end. I have no thought of what should happen. And I wasn't disappointed by what they did. I love seeing Loki finish that circle again. Like we said, he finishes that character development. It's just beautiful, and it really feels like this is the birth of the MCU going forward. It feels like this is the first okay, Loki is the god of the multiverse, and now we're going forward, and it's going to start connecting more with the future projects we have. Before all these incursion stuff popping in and out, I still don't really know where it's going to play in, but this one I at least felt, okay, I can see the MCU going forward now with Loki in this position. And shout out to Tom Hiddleston. You mentioned the other cast members; they all did great. Of course, Jonathan Majors did great as well. But Tom Hiddleston really showed up for this season of television. Honestly, I think it's award worthy. His performance in this season. He hit so many ranges of emotions. Went through such a journey from villain to savior, and this whole thing. The intricacies with his relationships with his friends and how much he truly cared about them from the first Loki we knew. Just so many differences that Tom Hiddleston was able to portray in this season, and God, shout out to him. MCU is lucky to have him.
He needs a Lifetime Achievement Award for portraying Loki.
Yeah,
something like that. Just the whole the character as a whole.
Yeah, he's been incredible. He was the perfect cast for Loki. He honestly rivals up there now with RDJ being the perfect cast for Iron Man. Loki is Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston is Loki. So, loved the season. I agree with you. I'm going to have to go rewatch them to really say if I know which one is better. But off the top of my head, I'm just going to go with an 8.5. Call it pretty even. I'll refine it later maybe, but we'll rock an 8.5. It was a solid season of television. I don't like these 6-episode seasons, but they did a good job with it. They timed it out really well. They paced it really well. Okay, yeah, the only thing I wanted to ask you, we covered everything. Do you think that ending was retconned at all? Do you think Loki becoming the god of the multiverse was anything they changed after the whole Jonathan Majors news came out? Or do you think this has been the plan all along? I guess they said the Kangs are out and released now, so this isn't cutting him off at all. So some people were saying they thought it was retconned and changed after everything happened, maybe. But yeah, okay.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, because they wouldn't change. That's a big story element to change. That's something they've had planned out.
True,
for sure.
True, I'm with you. All right. Any final words as we head out of here, Caleb?
Well, our next coverage will be of the Marvels. JD will be in town. We'll be seeing the movie together.
Ooh.
And then we will cover the episode after our thoughts. Maybe we'll do a little TikTok live or something. Post-theater reaction.
Yeah. We'll get something like that going in. We'll probably do a full episode.
Or YouTube. We should do YouTube. Oh, YouTube live and then do a fucking episode.
Yeah, we'll do something. There's a lot of mixed reviews coming out. A lot of people saying it's a fun movie. Just watch it and enjoy it. A lot of people saying it's better than Love and Thunder and Quantumania, but not amazing.
I've heard that.
A lot of people saying that it's the worst MCU movie so far. But there's so many Brie Larson haters, and there's a lot of people who are going to immediately hate an all-female cast like this regardless. So when I see the one saying it's the worst MCU movie by far, I have to think there's some bias going into that. But we'll see.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us in this kind of I don't know the right term, kind of freezing up, but we kind of winged it. So thank you for joining us here. It was a just fun little open forum discussing Loki. We can't wait to hop into our 100th episode. So make sure to tune into that. Follow our socials to stay posted with what you will be getting in it, when it'll be dropping, because it's a coming, baby. Follow us on our socials at whysosidious pod. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Whysosidious Nerd Podcast.
In life, there is no comfort. You just choose your burden.